February 1973, Costa Rica. A private jet touches down. On board, one man, several suitcases, and roughly $200 million worth of other people's money. He steps off, breathes the tropical air, and settles in. He will not see the inside of an American courtroom for the rest of his life. Not because he's innocent, because he's fast, rich, and completely shameless. Meet Robert Vesco. Detroit, 1935. Vesco's father worked the assembly line. Robert dropped out of school at 16 and started as an apprentice in a body shop. Not exactly the resume you'd expect from a man who'd eventually control a mutual fund empire worth $1.5 billion. But give him a decade. By his late 20s, Vesco had scraped together enough credit to buy a small parts company. He renamed it International Controls Corporation. Then he did what ambitious men with borrowed money always do. He bought more things. An airline, manufacturing plants, debt financed on top of more debt. By 1968, his shares were worth $50 million, on paper anyway. Then, in 1971, Vesco found his real target: Investors Overseas Services. IOS was a Geneva-based mutual fund empire built by a flashy financier named Bernie Kornfeld, who'd raised over $2.5 billion and then run the thing into the ground. Kornfeld was drowning. Vesco showed up like a rescue boat. He wasn't there to rescue anything. Once Vesco had control of IOS, the money started disappearing. Not all at once, that would be sloppy. Instead, funds got funneled through a maze of shell companies, fake loans, and inter-fund transfers that existed mostly on paper. The SEC would later call it one of the largest securities frauds ever committed. The final number, $224 million, quietly drained from 4 IOS funds. Vesco didn't stop there. In April 1972, with the SEC circling, he had an associate fly to Washington with a briefcase. Inside, $200,000 in cash, delivered straight into Nixon's re-election campaign safe. The goal was simple: buy some political interference with the investigation. It didn't work. The money got returned. The investigation continued anyway. By November 1972, the SEC filed suit. 15 counts of securities fraud, conspiracy, and perjury followed in early 1973. Most people facing that kind of paperwork start looking for a good lawyer. Vesco started looking for a good runway. He landed in Costa Rica and didn't just hide, he got comfortable. Comfortable enough that the Costa Rican government passed a law specifically protecting him from extradition. Imagine being such a headache that a country changes its legislation just to keep you. When Costa Rica got complicated, he moved to the Bahamas. Then he tried to buy an island off Antigua to start his own country. An actual, sovereign, Robert Vesco-shaped nation. It didn't happen, but the fact that he tried tells you everything about the scale of his ego. Nicaragua came next, courtesy of the Somoza regime. Along the way, he allegedly tried brokering an arms deal between Gaddafi's Libya and the United States, and later got indicted on drug smuggling charges for his role as a go-between for Castro's Cuba and various cartels. This is not a man easing into a quiet retirement. By the early 80s, he'd settled in Havana. Castro let him stay on one condition: no financial schemes on Cuban soil. Vesco agreed. Vesco lied. In 1996, Cuban authorities arrested Vesco, not for the American fraud, for a brand new one, pitching Cuban officials on a miracle cancer drug called TX, which he planned to market to foreign investors without the government's knowledge. Same playbook, same guy, different jail cell. He got 13 years. He served 9, released in 2005. The man dodged the FBI, the SEC, 5 federal indictments, and roughly 2 decades of international manhunts. And the people who finally locked him up were the Cuban communists he'd been hiding with the whole time. Vesco died in Havana in 2007, officially of lung cancer, in a country that had spent 30 years shielding him from consequences, right up until it didn't. He built an empire on other people's trust and spent the rest of his life proving he had none left to give, even to the one government that took him in.